viewing friends at home can hear us now. I know that you can hear me because I can hear you, and I'm hoping that is the right balance for us right now. So please join us in song, join us in spirit. We have we have this extra soul that we are given each Shabbat, that things should feel twice as good, they should sound twice as good, they should taste twice as good, they should look twice as good. So notice the beauty that is around you. Be thankful as you are here to celebrate, as you are here to remember. And please, if you would, take a moment, breathe in, and make that transition from the busyness of a week of eagerness, a week perhaps leading up to some sadness and memory, and the busy week just the same, and breathe it in and then breathe it out as we prepare to start Shabbat together.
People saying we cannot hear now.
Still can't hear.
Cannot hear.
Can't hear.
Okay.
The Shabbat candles as we invite Amy and Asaf to join us on the Bima, and invite you please to turn to page 120 in your Siddurim, page 120.
And each Shabbat candle gives light to all who behold them. So may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של We'll continue now with Kiddush, the sanctification of the day, the sweetness of the day. We'll ask Sivan and Sapna to join us and invite you in body or in spirit, please, to rise. Page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh Bereshit ki hu yom tehilat lemikayei kodesh zeher etziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'aharta ve'atanu kidashta mihol ha'amim v'shabbat kodecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. Chaim. And please be seated as we continue. Page 127 in your Sidurim. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. We'll continue with the singing of Lecha Dodi. We know that it is for us to live an embodied Judaism, to rest on Shabbat as God rested after the 6 days of creation, but also to greet Shabbat, not in an active and an exhausting way, but in a gentle and expansive way, that it is for us to go out and greet Shabbat. So at the very last verse of Lecha Dodi, we'll invite you please to rise, to turn to the back entrance, either in the sanctuary or at home, and to greet the Sabbath bride. Please join us, page 138.
Ishmianu el
And please be seated as we continue. I think friends are at home still having some trouble hearing from this side, but you hear okay from that side, yes? Okay, I think it's friends at home who are having trouble hearing from this mic. Let's continue together, page 145, and let's offer this prayer together. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence. We continue now with our call to worship. We'll invite you, please, in body or in spirit, to rise. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv arabim. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than the holiest of your works and the living language that give it form? Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Please be seated, and we'll continue on page 154 with the Ve'ahavta, page 154.
נפשך ובכל מידיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אלוקים מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושבך חומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו דודות בין עיניך, ונתתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם מצוותיי, פיהם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. I think they could do a yababai one more time with a little more oomph. So we're going to go back. We're going to go back because I've heard it stronger before. I've even felt it stronger at home before, sitting at my kitchen table on Zoom. So we're going to do one more yababai. Let's do it. Big finish. We had a big finish on this side. Excellent, excellent. Let's continue praying together. Page 160. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, over your people, and over Jerusalem. We'll continue now with the singing of the Joy of Shabbat with the Shamra that can be found on page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל ביני ובין בני ישראל את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי אלוהים נפש,
Let us continue as we turn to the tefillah, page 164. We will invite Sivan and Sapna to join us on the eve of their becoming Benot Mitzvah, page 164. And we'll ask you please in body or in spirit to join us, to pray with us, and to rise.
Adonai, seventy tafu fina gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekoneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Lema Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mehayeh HaKol atah, Rav Le'Oshia, Manid Hatah, Mehakel Hayim Behesed, Mehayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Be'Peholim, Umatir Asumim, Umekayem Emunato V'Shenei Afar, Mihamo Haba'al Mivurot, Umidom Elav, Melech Menid Umehayeh, Umatzmiya Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atalecha Hayod HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mehayeh HaKol.
Page 170, as we continue. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, v'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. And please be seated as we continue on page 173. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Machazir Shechinato L'Tzion. Blessed are you whose divine presence is felt again in Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tesim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tesim le'olam. Ki ata melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav l'Yisrael Amcha, tesim le'olam. Shalom Rav l'Yisrael Amcha, tesim le'olam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael bashalom. We take a few moments, each of us, all of us, in meditation, in prayer, in intentional silence.
Ve'yali
We'll turn our hearts and our prayers to those who are in need of healing, who for whether of weakness of body or weakness of spirit could use, we say, I think the rabbis in the Talmud said, a little bit of a bump up. They could use some love, they could use some prayer, they could use some strength, some courage, some kindness of care. They could use knowing that there are maybe people who know them and who don't know them, who are holding them in prayer. So we say, Mishaberach Avotenu V'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak V'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah, Hu Yivarech et HaCholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and give strength and courage to those who at this time are struggling. In our prayers this evening, we are calling to mind and holding in our hearts Shena Esther bat Rochel, Chaya Necha bat Riva Leah, Katriel Parachia ben Herschel Laser v'Shoshana, Sarah bat Abraham v'Sarah, Alan Skirker, Laura Braun, Miriam bat Ella, Stephen Brent, Rini Feingold, Meredith Cabanis Ader, Irving Manis, Ralph Bookbinder, Masha Batsheva, Greg Novozenitz, Susan Silton Tobias, Kim Stanger Delisle, Gabriel Berger, George O'Krent, Hank Ferrioli, Nancy Cohn, Lynn Fragan, Vicki Eckstein Kennedy, Stephen Loeb, Tammy Henson, Brian Mansfield, Dean Harris, Abigail Herman, and Michael Shartok. If there are others whom you would add to our list for healing, for wholeness and strength, I'll start here in the sanctuary. As I look your way, please, if there are any names that you would add, please do so at this time.
You just made a mute.
I'll invite you at home, please, to either unmute yourselves or to add your loved one into the chat, and we'll hold them in our prayers as well. But feel free to unmute yourselves at home.
Michael Gamilla and Naomi Bunis.
Linda Platt.
Linda Ruda.
Reverend Gordon Webster.
Fidel Shelley.
May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength, where possible, to be revived. May God send them renewal of body and renewal of spirit. And let us join together in saying, page 371.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Rabbi Eli said, Bishlosha devarim adam nikar bekoso uvekiso uvekaso. By three means is a person's true character known: by his cup, by his kos, his behavior when he drinks, by his kis, by his pocket, his conduct in his financial dealings with other peoples, and by his ka'as, by his anger. And some people would say that a person is also revealed in his true nature through his laughter. So as the Israelites began their trek through the wilderness, their defiance and their grumblings, we know you're going to tell us more tomorrow, peak in Parshat Korach, our Torah portion for the week. Jewish tradition understands that the machloket, the confrontation between Korach and Moses, as a prime example of a problematic conflict. As Rabbi Mark Margulies writes, the quality of ka'as, of anger, one of those three ways that we can tell how a person's character is unfolding, on all sides of the conflict, cracks wide open the underlying fault lines in the community, ultimately swallowing up Korach and his supporters. It's quite a stunning visually, quite horrific in this scene. And the Parsha opens with Korach, a Levite and son of Moses' cousin, confronting Moses with Datan and Abiram, leaders of the tribe of Reuben, and 200, along with 250 of the communal leaders. And this is what we read in Numbers 16. Verse 1, Korach, son of Izhar, son of Kohat, son of Levi, took himself along with Datan and Abiram, sons of Eliab and On, son of Pelet, descendants of Reuben, to rise up against Moses together with 250 Israelites, chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly, men of repute. They combined against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far, for all the community are holy, all of them, and God is in their midst. Why do you raise yourselves above God's congregation?" So on its face, the dissident's grievance seems unselfish and principled even. Who can dispute their egalitarian claim that the whole community, all of them, are holy? And upon closer look, the protesters' motives seem really kind of contaminated by their personal stake in this allocation of power. So according to Rashi, one of our greatest commentators, Korach, we are told, took himself in protest against Moses, granting the priesthood to his brother Aaron and relegating the other Levites to seemingly less significant roles. Datan and Abiram are Reubenites, descendants of Jacob's firstborn, who have lost the associated privilege of primogeniture of the Levites. And the 250 chieftains, these who joined together with Korach, according to Ibn Ezra, consist actually of a group of firstborns who likewise resent having been supplanted by the Levites. Each dissident has an axe to grind, or in traditional Jewish terminology, could be considered partial by virtue of being nogea badavar, literally touching the matter. And Rabbi Margulies says they have an inherent conflict of interest. We can relate. He goes on to say that Korach and his allies have a personal interest at stake. While they accuse Moses and Aaron of raising themselves above the community, making their own personal interest primary, their ostensible theological and moral objection appears to arise from self-interest. And as Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Zichron Libracha, described it, though they spoke the language of equality, what they wanted, in fact, was power. This was an argument, we are taught, not for the sake of truth, but solely for the sake of victory. Perhaps Pirkei Avot describes this confrontation even better as lo l'shem shamayim, not for the sake of heaven, because it's rooted actually in ego rather for the sake of pursuing justice or truth. In his response to the rebels, Moses models anava, humility. We might call it in midot terms, in musar terms, a balanced self or proper ego perspective by in fact bowing down, by prostrating himself in self-reflection, declaring that God, not he, will determine who is the legitimate leader of the community, and pointing actually to Korach and his fellow Levites, who have their own unique and sacred role to play, as each of us does. And yet when Moses invites Datan and Abiram to meet and they refuse to respond, he actually turns irate and defensive, number 16 tells us. Moses was very angry and said to God, "Pay no regard to their offering. I have not taken the ass of any one of them, nor have I wronged any of them." And shortly after, as the confrontation reaches this boiling point, God's anger erupts, and Moses and Aaron seek to temper divine ire by appealing for level-headed and balanced justice. So you know, because you read this and you are going to read this and you have studied this portion, Sapna and Sivan, that Korach assembles the entire community against them at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and the presence of God appeared to the whole community. And God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Separate yourselves from among this community, that I may consume them in the moment." But they fell on their faces, and they said, "God, source of breath of all flesh, when one sins, will you be wrathful with the whole community?" And God responds to this appeal by seeming actually to cool down a little bit, allowing a warning to be issued, which enables the people to separate themselves, in fact, from Korach and his band before the fault lines open up. You can just imagine it. The fault lines open up and they swallow all the detractors. This passage reveals, this portion also reveals how anger can lead to catastrophic and lethal ends. Indeed, Jewish tradition generally implores us to purge ourselves of our anger. And when Ben Zoma teaches in Pirkei Avot that one demonstrates strength by subduing one's yetzer, by subduing one's inclination, he cites Proverbs chapter 16 by saying, "One who is slow to anger is better than one who is strong, and one who masters passions is better than one who conquers a city." And Maimonides summarizes the rabbinic view of anger clearly in the Mishnah Torah, in his Mishnah Torah, when he writes, "Anger is also an exceptionally bad quality. It is fitting and proper that one move away from it and adopt the opposite extreme. In fact, one should school oneself not to become angry, even when it is fitting to be angry. If one should wish to arouse fear in one's children and household, or within the community, if one is a communal leader and wishes to be angry at them, to motivate them to return to the proper path, one should present an angry front to them to punish them, but should be inwardly, in fact, calm," says Maimonides. One should be like one who acts out the part of an angry person, but who is in fact inwardly not angry. Interesting. Our early sages say that anyone who becomes angry is in fact like one who worships idols. And they also said, whenever one becomes angry, if he is wise, his wisdom actually leaves him. If he is a prophet, his prophecy leaves him. The life of the irate is not true life. Therefore, the sages have directed that one distance oneself from anger and accustom oneself not to feel any reaction, even to things which provoke anger. This is the good path. Easier said than done for all of us. And at the same time, Rabbi Margolius reminds us that Judaism surely endorses anger as the moral fuel by which we battle injustice and seek a path of holiness. Abraham, we know, shakes his fist at God for threatening the lives of the innocent people of Sodom and Gomorrah. Jacob rages at Laban for tricking him into serving him for twice as long as he had in fact bargained for. Moses is incensed at the Egyptian taskmaster beating a slave. And of course, we know God blows the divine stack. I like the way Rabbi Margolius writes. He says that, Rabbi Margolius says, God blows the divine stack over any number of injustices. And the midah, the soul trait, the virtue, the character trait of ka'as, of anger, can in fact be understood as an offshoot of the midah of zirizut, of energetic responsiveness. There is in fact a difference. Anger stirs from moral lethargy, impelling us to pursue acts of justice. When others hurt or abuse, anger generates the steam by which we protect ourselves and others. Anger also provides a crucial aspect of human development. This we know. Those of us who are parents understand that at times we must, in fact, grit our teeth some and try to accept our children's temper tantrums at the checkout line and icy silences around the dinner table as an unpleasant but inevitable price of their ticket to adulthood and to selfhood. This is part and parcel with development. and psychologists. I mean, not to speak for those of you who are in fact trained in this field, but psychologists will tell you that an inability to articulate anger is in fact unhealthy and can lead to an increase of anxiety and depression, and that research has shown that a person's degree of expressed anger singularly explains the success of pain mitigating interventions, and that people who articulate their emotions and in a way that makes meaning out of strong negative feelings of anger and resentment are often better able to adjust to pain in some way. So we know anger is irrefutably complicated. From Korach, we learn that when personal interest is at stake, unfettered anger can take a lethal turn. From our sages, we learn that anger is an exceptionally bad quality and that it is fitting and proper that one move away from it and adopt the opposite extreme, lest the wise person lose his wisdom, lest the prophet lose their prophecy. From Rabbi Sachs, we learn that anger born out of lust for power is motivated by victory and not for the sake of truth. But so too do we learn both from the Bible and from modern day wisdom that anger can be an important motivator, propelling our pursuit of justice and for healthy emotional development. And Musar literature, the virtues-based approach to Jewish ethics and character development, invites us to, in fact, apply a sense of mindfulness to our anger, and we all hold some, to explore its sometimes deep and sometimes twisted roots and aspire to use it toward meaningful and sacred end. And if we do so, Rabbi Morgolius concludes, we are left in a position to make wise decisions, acting from open-heartedness and chesed, from compassion, rather than from fear and harsh judgment. We have just enough anger to discipline, but with love. Just enough anger to confront, but with compassion and humility. Just enough anger to speak out for and act for justice, but without rage or self-righteousness. And I hope and I pray that as we are navigating our anger and the benefit of anger and the detriment of anger, that we can do so with intent, with purpose, and with depth of understanding. And we all of us can say, Ken Yehi Ratzon. Let us continue as we turn to our concluding prayers to the Elenu. We'll invite you please to turn to page 586 and in body or in spirit to rise. We turn our thoughts now to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days and those who died at this season in years past. We open our hearts as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and in every place where grief touches the human family. During the period of Shloshim, these last 30 days, we are mourning the loss of Marie Eichner, mother of Jeffrey Eichner, Sally Graff, our temple member. And this marks a yahrzeit, an anniversary of passing for Alec Alpert, Ben Burns, Rita Boris, Sylvia Chambers, Doris Cherkasky, Joseph DeCario, Rosa Fagan, Betty K. Fisher, Harold Foreman, Ann Gin Ginsburg, Eleanor Goldman, Irving Goldman, Anna Gorin, Sandy Greenberg, Francis S. Hogan, Samuel Itkin, Irma Jacobs, Martha Coleman Davidson, Harry Lax, Barbara Leonard, Alice Lewis, Merton Madway, Blanche Mandel, John Mayer, Charles Montrose, Hyman Peck, Earl Rellin, Saul Schwartz, Gertrude Shernan, Paul Simons, Rita Simon, Herman Simpkins, Muriel Steinberg, Rosalind Sussman, John Warner, Sam Levy, and a yes now. If there are other names that you would add to either list, or names that are better spoken aloud by you, please, I'll ask those of you at home to unmute yourselves first, or to share in the chat those who you are remembering at this time.
Sandy Parker,
And in the sanctuary, if there are those who you are remembering, please, as I look your way, share that name aloud with us.
Ken Barron.
May their memories be for a blessing as we join together in the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudasha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Uya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved as we join together and say, Amen. And please be seated. Please be seated. We share with you, so at this time, some announcements. We want to first and foremost offer the Yosha family our very best wishes as Sapna and Sivan are on the eve of their becoming a bat mitzvah. And so too do we want to thank our board greeter. We want to thank Karen McCauley and Deborah. Is Deborah here as well? Karen, yes, Karen, we want to thank you for being our greeter this evening. And to remind you that we have Torah study coming to the end of Torah study for the season, 9:15 tomorrow morning. Yes, we're still in the book of Genesis. And then at 10:15, when Torah study ends, we have a 15-minute break, and then 10:30 begins our service, our Shabbat morning service, to which you are all welcome, and during which Sapna and Sivan will be called to the Torah as a Benot Mitzvah. Sunday, we have at 4 p.m. our Speaking of Race discussion. And then Wednesday, June 16th, please join us for the second session with Rabbi Lawrence Englander, who is speaking about religion and science as well, and the Big Bang Theory. Thursday evening, June 17th at 7 p.m., we have our annual meeting. And a week from tonight, we have Get S'more Shabbat. So please join us outside on the lawn and come with us and be with us and join us for a festive camp style and Freilich Shabbat evening. Please register online for that. And then Saturday morning, a week from tomorrow morning, we have our final bat mitzvah of the season, as Scarlett Kinsler will be called to the Torah. We want to also wish a mazel tov to Howard and Sue Weiner on the marriage of their son Erica to Jessica Steklov last Sunday, and also to Stuart and Mary Lucy Schweid on the marriage of their daughter Kara to Gavin on May 29th. Any announcements that we should know about? Any joys that we should know about? Any accomplishments here or at home? Any good news? We know some kids home from college. That's good news. We know some company in from out of town for Simcha. That's also good news. Anything else at all? Excellent. We have graduation from medical school. Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov. During this oh so quiet medical time. Good. It's good to have more people in the ranks. Yeah. Join us, please, as we turn to our closing song and to Motzi as well. We'll invite the Yosha family to join us on the bima for Motzi, to give thanks for all that nourishes and sustains us. And Ed and Yuk, thank you for sharing your challah for 4 services so that we could see it at home. Show us your chalot while the Yosha family are making their way up onto the bima. And let us give thanks. Okay, remove the cover. Yes.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. אמן.
Page 643, as we turn to our closing song, Gesher Tzar Me'od. We wish you a Shabbat Shalom, good health in this Shabbat that is so special for the Yosha family, so special for those of you who are home or visiting, and for those who are remembering. We wish you the blessing of memory, good health, good strong health, and peaceful passage through the weekend and joyous celebration tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom and Shabbat Shalom to everybody at home.